Windows 11 collects your typing patterns, not optionally, by default. Every app you install, every website you visit, every piece of diagnostic data Microsoft classifies as required, all transmitted, even on the lowest telemetry setting. macOS locks you into hardware starting at $999 for a laptop with 8 GB of RAM that you can never upgrade. And Ubuntu's last major update broke package managers so badly that users had to reinstall from scratch. All three promise to be the only operating system you need. None of them mention what you give up. Here is what the marketing skips. Windows runs every application but sells your usage data. macOS gives you 18 hours of battery life but traps you in Apple's pricing. Ubuntu is completely free with zero telemetry, but Adobe will not run on it, and neither will most competitive multiplayer games. The download pages show you features. They do not show you the real 5-year cost of the trade-offs. Windows 11 runs on any hardware from a $400 budget laptop to a $3,000 gaming workstation. Every major application works natively. Adobe Creative Cloud, Microsoft Office, every game on Steam, every piece of industry-specific software from accounting to architecture. DirectX 12 provides the best gaming performance available on any platform. The hardware freedom means you choose your budget, your brand, and your specifications without restriction. For the widest software compatibility and the most hardware choice at every price point, Windows remains the default for a reason. But that default position comes with a privacy cost that is impossible to fully avoid. Microsoft collects application usage data, website visits, device information, and typing patterns through telemetry that is classified as required even on the most restrictive setting. Home Edition gives you almost no control over this collection. Pro allows some reduction through group policy. Only Enterprise offers full telemetry management. OneDrive auto-syncs files without explicit consent. The Start menu displays advertisements. Pre-installed bloatware appears on machines costing over $1,000. Forced updates restart your computer without adequate warning on the Home Edition. And the TPM 2.0 hardware requirement blocked perfectly functional older machines from upgrading, creating artificial obsolescence for hardware that had years of life remaining. Windows gives you everything in terms of software and hardware compatibility, but you pay for that universality with your data, your patience, and your control over your own machine. So what about the premium alternative? macOS Sonoma runs exclusively on Apple hardware. The M-series chips deliver battery life that no Windows laptop can match, with the MacBook Air M3 lasting 15 to 18 hours on a single charge compared to 8 to 12 hours for comparable Intel machines. The operating system is Unix-based, giving developers native terminal access and scripting capabilities without the compatibility challenges of Linux. Build quality is consistently praised as superior. The Apple ecosystem integration between iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, and Mac is seamless. Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro are optimized specifically for Apple Silicon, and the operating system itself is free with every Mac purchase, with iWork providing word processing, spreadsheets, and presentations at no additional cost. But the hardware lock-in is the fundamental trade-off. The cheapest MacBook starts at $1,099 with 8 GB of RAM that many users find insufficient for serious multitasking. Everything is soldered to the motherboard, so RAM and storage cannot be upgraded after purchase. Repair costs are dramatically higher than equivalent Windows laptops. Gaming performance runs at roughly half the frame rate of Windows for the same title. Windows-only business software requires workarounds through parallels or crossover that are clunky and unreliable. And Apple's pricing means the hardware freedom that Windows and Ubuntu users take for granted simply does not exist. macOS offers a premium experience with unmatched battery life and ecosystem integration, but you pay Apple's prices for Apple's hardware with no alternative path. So what about the completely free option? Ubuntu 24.04 is completely free. The operating system, the Office suite, the development tools, the image editing software, all of it. There are no license fees, no subscriptions, and no telemetry by default. Canonical, the company behind Ubuntu, collects nothing unless you explicitly enable anonymous crash reports. For privacy, there is no contest. Ubuntu gives you complete control over every piece of data on your machine. The The German state of Schleswig-Holstein is migrating 30,000 government employees from Windows to Linux, expecting €15 million in savings from Microsoft licensing costs alone. On the same hardware, Ubuntu matches or exceeds Windows performance in most benchmarks. Docker runs natively without the WSL2 workaround that Windows requires. Python, Node, and the entire open-source development stack work better on Linux than on any other platform. But the compatibility gaps are real, and they are not closing fast enough for mainstream users. Adobe Creative Cloud does not run on Ubuntu. Microsoft Office is limited to the web version, and LibreOffice's 95% compatibility means formatting breaks and non-functioning macros in the 5% that matters most in professional environments. Wi-Fi drivers fail on fresh installs for some hardware. Bluetooth audio stutters randomly. Fingerprint readers often lack support entirely. Upgrades between major versions have documented reliability problems, with the 23.10 to 24.04 upgrade failing badly enough that users had to reinstall from scratch. And competitive multiplayer games with anti-cheat systems refuse to run on Linux regardless of compatibility layers. Ubuntu is the most capable free operating system available, but the software compatibility gaps and hardware quirks mean you will spend time solving problems that Windows and macOS users never encounter. Right, so here's where I land. Windows 11 is the compatibility pick. Every application, every game, every piece of industry software and hardware at every price point from $400 to $4,000. For anyone who needs Adobe Creative Cloud, native Microsoft Office, PC gaming, or industry-specific software that only runs on Windows, there is no viable alternative regardless of the privacy and bloatware compromises. But telemetry you cannot fully disable, forced updates, pre-installed advertisements, and the requirement that you create a Microsoft account on the Home Edition are the ongoing costs of that universal compatibility. Best for professionals who need specific Windows software, gamers, and anyone who values maximum application compatibility over privacy and system control. macOS Sonoma is the ecosystem pick. The best battery life by a significant margin, premium, build quality, seamless Apple device integration, Unix-based development capabilities, and a stable operating system that requires less maintenance than Windows. For developers who need a Unix environment without Linux's compatibility challenges, creative professionals using Final Cut Pro or Logic Pro, and anyone already invested in the Apple ecosystem, the premium hardware cost buys a genuinely premium experience. But the hardware lock-in, limited gaming, inability to upgrade components, higher repair costs, and Apple-only pricing mean you are paying a premium for a walled garden. Best for Apple ecosystem users, developers who want Unix without Linux, and creative professionals whose tools are optimized for Apple Silicon. Ubuntu is the freedom pick. Zero cost, zero telemetry, complete data sovereignty, and the best native development environment for open source tools. For developers, privacy advocates, European businesses, navigating GDPR compliance, and organizations large enough that licensing savings justify the migration investment, Ubuntu offers genuine freedom from both Microsoft and Apple, but Adobe will not run. Office formatting will break, hardware will occasionally refuse to cooperate, and upgrades will sometimes fail in ways that require starting over. Best for developers, privacy-focused users, and large organizations willing to invest in migration for long-term savings and data sovereignty. One compatible but invasive, one premium but locked in, one free but unfinished. Every choice is a trade-off. At least now you know what you're trading.